Welcome to the Stoic Today, YouTube, your daily source of timeless spiritual strength and unstoppable purpose. If you are tired of being ruled by emotions or dragged down by negativity, this video is your breakthrough moment. Please take a moment of your precious time and generosity to click the subscribe button, comment on the channel. Thank you very much. Listen to the next great content. Let's be honest for a moment. We've all encountered that one person who seemed charming at first, captivating even, but beneath the surface, they were manipulative, self-absorbed, and deeply toxic. A narcissist. And if you've ever been caught in their emotional web, you know how lasting and painful the scars can be. But here's the powerful truth. You don't defeat a narcissist by stooping to their level. You don't win by fighting fire with fire. You make them regret everything, not through revenge, but through peace, through strength, through boundaries that are so solid they can't be cracked no matter how hard they push. Today isn't about playing games. It's about flipping the entire narrative, reclaiming your power, and giving yourself the love you always deserved. Let's begin. You don't get even with a narcissist by becoming like them. You make them regret everything. Not with revenge, but with power, with clarity, with boundaries so strong they bounce off them like a tennis ball hitting a brick wall. Today, I'm not here to play games. I'm here to tell you exactly how to flip the script, how to stop giving them what they crave, and start giving yourself what you deserve. You ready? Let's go. Narcissists thrive on attention. It doesn't even matter if it's good or bad attention. Praise, anger, validation, drama, it all fuels them. Every reaction you give is like oxygen to a fire, and the moment you stop reacting, stop feeding the chaos, they start to suffocate. The truth is, narcissists aren't strong without an audience. They need someone to prop up their fragile ego, someone to validate the version of themselves they try to sell to the world. When you're no longer that person, when you stop jumping through their hoops, stop explaining yourself, stop justifying your feelings, they start to lose control because the game is only fun for them if you keep playing. You've got to starve their ego. That means not engaging when they bait you, not defending yourself when they twist your words, not rising to the drama when they try to get a rise out of you. Instead, you become calm, focused, neutral. And that neutrality, it drives them insane. Because narcissists can't stand being irrelevant. They can't handle not being the center of your emotional world. They're used to being able to pull your strings, push your buttons, and watch you dance. But when you start showing up differently, when you stop being predictable and start being intentional, they lose their grip on you. And here's the kicker. The less you react, the more they unravel. They start wondering why you're not chasing them, why you're not falling apart, why you're not begging for closure or apologizing just to keep the peace. And that quiet strength, that's what makes them start to regret it. Not because they've changed or feel remorse, but because they've lost their grip on someone they thought they owned. Narcissists hate losing control more than anything. When you starve their ego, you're doing more than just protecting your peace. You're showing them without a single word that you're no longer available for their dysfunction. And that's a kind of power they don't know how to handle. Reclaiming your power starts the moment you decide that your peace, your worth, and your identity are no longer up for negotiation.
Narcissists are masters at slowly chipping away at your sense of self. They manipulate, gaslight, and control until you start doubting your own instincts. But the moment you set a boundary and actually stick to it, everything shifts. It doesn't have to be dramatic or loud. It can be as simple as not responding to a message, not explaining your choices, or walking away from a conversation when it turns toxic. Boundaries are not about punishing the narcissist. They're about protecting you. The hard part, they will test you. They'll push every button, guilt trip you, act like the victim, even love bomb you all over again just to regain control. But when you stand firm, when you say no and mean it, they start to realize that the old tricks aren't working. That's when the power dynamic flips. You're no longer the person bending over backwards to keep the peace. You're no longer trying to fix things, make excuses, or justify your emotions. You're simply done. And here's the most important part. Boundaries only work if you enforce them. It's not about what you say. It's about what you do when that line is crossed. You don't need to yell, beg, or explain. You just need to act, distance yourself, follow through, show up for yourself like you used to show up for them. Because every time you do, you take a piece of your power back. It's not easy, especially when you've been conditioned to put their needs above your own. But this isn't about them. It's about breaking the cycle. The more consistent you are with your boundaries, the more confidence you build. You start remembering who you were before the manipulation. You start hearing your own voice again. And trust me, nothing makes a narcissist more unsettled than seeing you stand in your truth, unshaken, unbothered, and unavailable to the chaos they used to thrive on. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have when dealing with a narcissist. They feed on emotional responses, arguments, tears, explanations, even anger. Anything that tells them they still have space in your mind and heart is fuel for them. That's why silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's control. It's the ultimate shift in energy from you matter to me to you're irrelevant to my peace. Going no contact or adopting the grey rock method if full silence isn't an option is about starving them of the emotional supply they crave. And believe me, nothing confuses and frustrates a narcissist more than not being able to get a reaction out of you. The grey rock method is simple but powerful. Become emotionally uninteresting. Flat responses, no expression, no opinions, no vulnerability. You turn into a blank wall. This is not about being rude or cold. It's about self-protection. Narcissists bait you with drama, insults, compliments, guilt, and manipulation. If you react, they know they still have influence. But when you respond with stillness, they're left with nothing to hold on to. Your silence becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own emptiness, something they try so hard to avoid. And then there's going no contact to the clean break. It's the loudest silence you'll ever speak. It says, I choose me. No texts, no calls, no social media lurking, nothing. And if that's not fully possible, like if you share kids or work together, then limited contact is your path. Strict emotionless communication. Only what's necessary and nothing more. Because every unnecessary word is a door left open, and narcissists love to wedge themselves through any crack they can find. Your silence isn't about being petty, it's about being free. It's a boundary that doesn't need to be explained. It's felt. At first, the narcissist may escalate. They might lash out, try to guilt trip you, love bomb you, or pretend they've changed. That's the test. That's when you hold your ground. Your silence during this storm is where your power is. And while they scramble to regain control, you stay centered, calm, detached, because you're no longer playing their game. And without your reactions, the game ends. They lose. This silence is how you heal. It creates space for clarity, peace, and self-respect. It helps you detox from the confusion and manipulation they wrapped around you. And the longer you stay silent, the louder your strength becomes. Narcissists regret the loss of control. They regret the loss of their favorite source of supply. And while they may never say it out loud, your silence echoes in their mind longer than any argument ever could. Focusing on your personal growth is one of the most effective ways to make a narcissist regret ever underestimating you. The narcissist thrives on your attention, your energy, your insecurities, and the way they make you feel small so they can feel big. But when you start to focus on yourself, on your own goals, your own happiness, your own success, they can't touch you. They're used to being the center of attention. But when you shift the spotlight onto your own life and aspirations, they begin to lose relevance. The more you invest in your own growth, whether it's through learning, exercising, pursuing your passions, or strengthening your relationships, the more you create a life that's so fulfilling, so powerful that their toxic presence no longer fits in. Narcissists want you to believe that your value is tied to their approval. But when you start succeeding without them, when you begin to thrive in ways they can't manipulate or control, they realize they've lost their grip on you. And it's not just about external success, it's about inner peace and self-confidence. As you become more grounded in who you are, the less you need their validation. The more you focus on becoming your best self, the less space you leave for their negativity. This shift is transformative, not just for you, but for the dynamic you once shared with them. Your growth, your happiness, your strength become something they can't touch, and that is the most powerful form of revenge. It's not revenge at all. It's simply living well without them, without their influence and without their toxic energy. They will watch you from the sidelines as you build a life that's fulfilling, vibrant, and successful without them in the picture. And though they may not express it, deep down they will feel the sting of being irrelevant in your world. Narcissists rely on the attention of others to prop up their self-esteem, but when they realize they've lost their ability to affect you, that's when the regret starts to seep in. You've moved on, and you've done it in a way that makes them realize they were never the key to your happiness. They were just a distraction. Flipping the narrative is one of the most empowering ways to regain control and make a narcissist regret their actions. Narcissists have a way of rewriting history, spinning their manipulations into a story where they are always the victim or the hero and you are the one at fault. They've been trained in this art of turning everything around to fit their narrative, which is why it's so crucial to take back the pen and rewrite your own story. The first step in flipping the narrative is understanding that you no longer have to live according to their script. You don't owe them explanations for your feelings, actions, or decisions. You don't need to keep playing the role they assigned you, the fool, the doormat, or whatever part they've tried to make you fit into. You have the power to define yourself, to see your worth independent of their toxic influence. By choosing to no longer allow their version of the story to define you, you take away their ability to control your perception of yourself. Narcissists thrive on creating confusion and self-doubt. They want you questioning your sanity, your worth, and your decisions. But when you start owning your truth, when you start acknowledging your strength, your resilience, and your worth, you shift the power dynamic completely. No longer will you be the one wondering if you're crazy, if you're too sensitive, or if you're overreacting. You'll know exactly what's been happening. You'll see their manipulations for what they are. And more importantly, you'll start speaking your truth even when it's uncomfortable. This is how you flip the narrative. Not by shouting it from the rooftops or trying to convince everyone around you, but by living your truth unapologetically. One of the most powerful ways to flip the narrative is through your actions. Show people around you that you've moved on. Show them that you're strong, that you're thriving, and that you're no longer caught in the web of the narcissist's lies. Narcissists hate
being exposed. They thrive on the illusion of control, and when you refuse to play their game anymore, they lose the power they so desperately need. They'll try to rewrite the story to make themselves look like the victim, the misunderstood hero, or the murderer. But your life becomes the ultimate proof of who you really are. Every moment you take to focus on your healing, your happiness, and your success is a reminder that the narrative they tried to impose on you no longer has any weight. And the beauty of flipping the narrative is that you don't need their permission. You don't need to ask for validation. You simply step into your power, live your life on your terms, and let your actions speak louder than any words they could ever say. The more you stand firm in who you are, the more you expose their lies. The more you thrive without them, the more they realize the truth that they were never the center of your world to begin with. And that in itself is the ultimate form of revenge, proving to both yourself and them that you were always worthy of love, success, and happiness without their manipulation. Karma has a way of handling things that you never could. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply step back and let life unfold on its own. Narcissists often believe they are immune to consequences because they're experts at manipulating situations to their advantage. They believe that they can escape the fallout of their actions. And for a time it may seem like they do, but eventually the universe has a way of catching up to people who thrive on exploitation and control. The damage they cause to others, the manipulation they weave, the lies they tell, they always have a way of coming back around. And when it does, it will have a far greater impact than anything you could ever do to make them regret it. What you have to realize is that by removing yourself from the equation and refusing to engage in their toxic behavior, you're allowing the consequences of their actions to speak for themselves. Narcissists are notoriously bad at self-reflection. They're so caught up in protecting their inflated ego and maintaining their carefully curated image that they often fail to see how their behavior is ruining their relationships, their reputation, and even their own mental health. You don't need to take on the responsibility of bringing them down. The universe will handle that in ways you could never predict or control. What you can control is your response, and the best response is to focus on living your life without them. Karma doesn't require your interference, but it does require your detachment. When you're no longer emotionally invested in the outcome of their actions, When you stop feeling the need to call them out, to teach them a lesson, or to prove them wrong, you let go of any power they still have over you. This detachment is not about indifference, it's about freedom. It's about choosing not to carry the burden of their toxic behavior any longer. You free yourself from the need to see them suffer because you trust that life will handle that for you. You stop wasting your time hoping for an apology or waiting for them to come to their senses. You stop expecting justice to look a certain way and simply let go of the narrative you've been holding on to. By focusing on your own growth, happiness, and peace, you give karma the space it needs to take care of things. The narcissist may continue to weave their web of deceit. They may try to control others, and they may even convince people that they're the victim. But eventually, the truth has a way of catching up with them. The lies they've told, the people they've manipulated, and the damage they've caused, it all catches up. And when it does, you won't need to say a word. You'll already be living proof that you've moved on, that you're better without them, and that you're stronger than ever. Karma doesn't always look the way we think it will, but it's always served at the right time, and that timing is beyond your control. Your peace, your strength, and your healing are the best possible outcomes. Thank you for listening to the entire video content. We hope you take some of your precious time to click subscribe, like, and comment on channel. Sincerely, and thank you very much. Invite you to listen to the video with the next great content.